Hi everyone, this is Kristen with Quest and welcome to Quest Forum. Today you've joined us for how to get started with the PeopleSoft Fluid User Interface with Stephen Wright. I do have a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. All attendee lines will be muted and stay in mute throughout this session, but if you do have a question, please put them in the question drop-down box located on your GoToWebinar panel. And at the end, we will answer any of the questions that have come in. So this session is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the Quest content library. And at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Stephen and he will kick things off. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello and welcome to today's presentation. I'm going to walk you through with basically getting started with all you need to know about PeopleSoft's Fluid User Interface. My name is Stephen Wright. I work for Oracle University. I'm currently a curriculum director, and that basically means I build the curriculum for all things applications and industries. I used to be a consultant, and I used to be an instructor as well, so hopefully we'll have a good session today. Okay, so basically the aim of my presentation is to guide you through the purposes and benefits of what you're going to gain from the Fluid User Interface. We'll then look at how you navigate it, what it looks like, the appearance. I will describe some of the features to you. We'll go through, and just because this is a kind of getting started, I will show you some of the administration and development things you need to think about. But don't forget, this obviously is the kind of your first step into this, and rather at a high level. Then we'll look at some of the enhancements that PeopleTools has got from 8.5.6 onwards. Okay, so let's get started then. So basically, what are we talking about? Well, to start with, we need to understand why we're using a Fluid User Interface. I'm sure you're all familiar with the classic look and feel that we see. And for the most part, that has worked up until the point we are at now. However, our systems are changing. We have more users. The number of people who are what we call casual users, people that are going in, logging in just to get a piece of information, a small bit of information, and go off and do the rest of their job, is increasing. People are now becoming more self-service. They're helping themselves to get information and to glean information and doing reports. And so therefore, we want to try and make the user interface as easy and as streamlined as possible. Also, we would like to try and break it down so that it's a good experience. You know, whether you are an experienced user, a new user, an administrator, it should be nice and simple and straightforward for you to be able to do your job. So we're kind of breaking down the bigger components. We're making it easier, simpler, and we're even kind of giving you guided steps to walk you through it. We're trying to give you a kind of a look and feel that you're used to compared to using other applications or the browser tools, etc. And so the overall experience to you is going to make it easier for you to provide the information that you need for yourself and the people that you work with. Obviously, it's going to be, and the kind of the tagline effectively is right at the very bottom of this slide. It should be available anytime, anywhere, on any device. So it doesn't matter whether you move from your tablet to your phone, to your laptop, to your home computer, or whatever it is, it should all look and feel the same, and your experience should be the same as you go through that. So that's basically what we're looking at. So what is it that we've done as far as PeopleSoft is concerned? Well, we've enhanced our classic look and feel. We're all used to the look and feel. It's been like that for many, many years. However, we need to move with the times. We need it to become more flexible. We need to start utilizing the technology that we have that's at our availability, make it more intuitive, and as I say, easier to use. And from 8.5.6 onwards, this will be the direction that we're going in. So all future applications will be developed with this in mind, so that we are basing it on the device that you're using. So what does it look like? Kind of how can you recognize it? Well, there's a little screenshot in the top corner for you there, and you can see that's based on kind of the appearance either on a tablet or on a phone. So what we've done, first of all, the first basic item that you will see is we have streamlined it. So rather than filling the screen like in the classic view with all these fields and radio buttons, and at times it becomes, quite kind of in your face and quite complex to look at. Oftentimes you just need to look at something really quickly, gain your information, and move on. So hence we've streamlined the whole content that we put inside these fluid interfaces. Next, we've made it adaptive so that it is responsive and recognizes which device type you are on. So irrespective of where you are, what you're doing, and what device you're using, it will pick it up. The page will resize and form accordingly. And we call this, as you can see in the brackets there, it's called the form factor. We'll talk about that later, but that's effectively what it's doing. It's working out what device you're on based on the form factor and scaling the screen accordingly. Okay, so it makes it nice and responsive and makes your life a little bit easier. So you can look at this, and again, all I'm doing is getting some very basic screenshots to show you that irrespective of where you are, it's showing you the same information. Now, you as the end user will feel a little bit different, obviously, and as you can see, the two comparisons we've got here, on the laptop, you do have physically more real estate, hence we can do the kind of list of options down the left-hand side and the benefit screen on the right. Whereas on your smartphone, obviously real estate is restricted, so we just give you the kind of salient points, the most important features, and they are in the benefits. Obviously, you can scroll down to gain further information as well. So it will look and feel a little bit different. Okay, so how is that working in terms of PeopleSoft itself? Well, obviously we know that our applications are on 9.2. The kind of back end, the tool set is 8.5.5. However, from 8.5.6 onwards, we are defaulting everything to utilize the fluid interface. So from now on, as you can see, that bullet point says fluid is always on. So it's defaulted to turn on to use fluid where possible. So from now on, navigation will utilize this. Okay. Now, don't panic, don't worry. Classic pages are still supported. You can still use them with the back buttons and navigation at the bar as we had. Also, the classic home pages will be the same. We're kind of running this, if you will, kind of in parallel, but the kind of the primary, if you will be all things fluid. Okay, so just a kind of caveat here. There are some features of the functionality that are yet to be moved over fully to be fluid compliant, if you will. So there are kind of some points that will still remain on the classic UI. Okay, that will change obviously as we could go further down this journey. We'll make more and more of these options available via fluid. We'll just be aware some of them may not fully be moved over depending on what version you're on as we speak. Okay, so let's take a look then at some of the elements that make up the fluid application. Okay, so these are going to be some of the kind of terminology that you'll start hearing and kind of start being bandied around. Things like navigation bar should be okay with you. You should probably appreciate that already. Action list, again, makes sense. It is the kind of the first four that are probably more newer to you. Things like form factors, fluid banners, fluid home pages, and fluid titles. But we'll go through them and explain those and kind of obviously get you on the kind of straight and narrow. So first things first, and probably most importantly, is this idea of a form factor. Okay, so this basically is relating to the device that you've got and how it renders the application. Okay, so we've got distinct groupings, if you will. So you can see there, ranging from small going to extra large. We can range from the very, very small, which is typically the smartphone that you have, and going right up through tablets to laptops to personal computers. So that is all determined by what we call the form factor. Okay. Next up is the kind of the banner. Okay. You all should be familiar with the banner. It is the equivalent of the header, the portal header that we have in the classic look and feel. Just like that does, it appears throughout the fluid application. Okay. It does change a little bit. Okay. You can see there that the two screenshots I've got there for you. At the top is the kind of the regular home page where you would start. And then when you start drilling down and looking at actual individual transactions, in this case, we're looking at open jobs, you can see there that the extra icon is the kind of search icon. So you can search for obviously in this case, open jobs. So the fluid kind of banner will pretty much remain the same, but obviously there will be some changes depending on whereabouts you are in the transactional process. Okay, so new things for you then on that banner are obviously some of the icons. Again, these are, we've tried to make these icons as kind of systematic to all of the applications that you're using, so you don't have to kind of relearn things. So a lot of them should be fairly straightforward. So obviously the house is the home button that returns you back to the default homepage, which is obviously your fluid homepage, which you sign on. Obviously the magnifying glass performs global searches, allows you to search. The little flag obviously is your notification, so anything that is pending for you to work on will obviously be listed there. I'm going to just skip action list a second, jump straight down to navigation button. That allows you to kind of have the navigation bar, which kind of will navigate you around the application. The reason I jumped over action list, the action list will show the actions dependent, again, whereabouts you are in a transaction process or what screen that you're on. We'll always have the action list there, but the options underneath it will change depending what actions you can perform. Okay, so just kind of taking a quick look and feel at it, okay? So we've got a kind of a screen here using one of the smaller form factors, okay? And you just can see that if we run out of real estate, okay, that banner will change. Well, what the screenshot is showing you here, that, you know, the actual banner has kind of all but gone, but the ellipses, the dots are still there, so you can click on that and it expands it out and it gives you the ability to see the options. So again, we have to cope with the real estate that we've got available to us, and hence that's what we're doing right there. Okay, next up is the kind of fluid homepage. Okay, like I say, you should be familiar with these with your regular home pages in the application that you go to. Again, we've changed it a little bit, and we've kind of pulled in relevant content. We make it more, again, streamlined and get rid of things that you don't perhaps need to use. And don't forget, these home pages are designed to be giving you the information at a high level. Just a quick glance, oh, I can see this, I've got that, or if it's not, it allows me to drill down. So you can see we've got two different sorts of information here. So there's kind of screens which take me somewhere, like the benefits, performance, personal details, etc. And also we've got graphics on there, so you can see, I can instantly see a quick look and feel that I've got my team's performance, and I can look at those straight away without having to drill down. So these are your kind of fluid home pages, which you'll be getting used to. Obviously, we can indeed personalize these, okay? You can add and remove them, okay? You can rename them to make them more pertinent for you. The tiles, which is, just go back a second. So you see on these two examples here, we've got 8 and 9 tiles. Those white areas are your tiles, okay? So those tiles can be added, removed, and you can change the order of them, okay? You can change the order, so we'll put things at the top which are more pertinent to you, move things around, and you can get to this by going through actions and then personalize, okay? So you've got the ability to go through and do that to make it your own homepage. Okay, that takes us down then to the next level, which is indeed those tiles, okay? The top level terminology for it is a navigational construct. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful, so just think of it as a link. It is a tile which basically gives you a graphical representation of an item which will link you to somewhere else in the application. It will take you wherever you want to go, okay? So it gives you the business transaction. Also, they can actually show you content, so they can actually give you information at the high level before you obviously drill down to that. They exist obviously in the home pages or on a dashboard. For a comparison, in the classical look, these are the pagelets that you're probably used to. And again, one of the benefits of making it fluid, we're trying to give you analytics at your fingertips as well. So we can also put charts in here. And again, as you can see from my screenshot, I've got a kind of pie chart in there to show you that information, okay? So also, don't forget this fluid area is still being developed, and we're trying to improve it each time we go. So as a final bullet point states there, 855 tiles are recyclable. When we first had them, the tiles were kind of fixed in form. Well, obviously, we need to change that, move the tiles as we move different sizes. So now they are kind of changing and resizable. They're also interactive. and it kind of pushes the information up to the screen for you. Okay, what else can we do? Well, you've got your action list, okay, which obviously press the dots, you get your action list to reveal what actions you can perform at this particular point. Obviously, it's context-based, so depending whereabouts I am in the application will depend on which actions I can take, which actions are visible in my action list, okay? Things you can do, obviously, you can be personalized, look at your preferences, obviously you can sign out. And then let's say you're inside a different application page, well, things you can do there is maybe look at favorites, navigate, etc. So it will change accordingly as to where you are in the application. Obviously, within personalized, you can obviously create your own home pages. You can delete them, add tiles, remove tiles, change the title. So the whole thing is, configurable by yourself. Okay. Next up, we have the navigation bar. Okay. Obviously, as its name suggests, it allows you to navigate. Again, we're trying to give you the kind of browser look and feel. So you've got things like homepage, take me back to the home. You've got my favorites. You can mark certain places within the application that need to be favorites that you use a lot. You can go back to them. We've also got the recent. So like, again, if you're using a browser and in the last 10 minutes, you went to 5 different pages, obviously we'll do the same look and feel. We have recent places as well. The navigator obviously allows you to get to whereabouts you want to in the actual structure of the application, just like we would with the regular menu bars. Okay. So that's kind of some of the terminology and the kind of high-level definition of what's kind of happening behind the scenes and what it looks like. Okay. So now let's take a look at kind of the next step, some of the kind of experience features that you're going to get. Okay. We'll look at structures and the content. We'll look at the dashboards. We'll look at the tiles and the repository they sit in, and we'll look at some of the collections for navigation, activity guides. We'll show you some of the analytics, okay, and I'll also explain in there what Classic Plus is as well, because obviously we need to know all about that. So again, we've tried to make it so that it's analogous to the Classic look and feel. With the Classic look and feel, you have a structure and a content, or now we just have a fluid structure and content. So we're trying to keep it so that it's not radically that different, okay? Who's going to look at this? Who's going to work with this? Well, obviously, this would be your administrator role, okay? And so they can manage what elements? Well, they can manage the actual home page, what pages that then flows to. Obviously, they can do PeopleTools behind that, and they can set preferences, okay? So what's that going to start looking like? Well, here you go. I've gone in. This is my kind of general content. We're looking at the structure. And you can see here, I've got my home pages, my preferences, and I can go in and edit and make changes to any one of those at any time I want to. Next up then, we have dashboards. Again, we're familiar with dashboards in the regular application in a Classic look and feel. Okay, again, we've mimicked the same thing. So it will set up a home page for you. We've made these available via a link or a tile, okay? So you can start your home page and then now go to a particular area in a dashboard, okay? We can personalize these. So again, using the actions personalize, you can dictate what happens. You can add, delete, or change the tiles, okay? The utility to create dashboards, I'll talk about that kind of a little later on, but you've got the ability to kind of build these dashboards out, okay? And you can create them, but they're all now kind of part of this fluid dashboard. So you'll see an extra tab appearing in there that you can work with, and that obviously all reside inside the tile repository, okay? And then once you've done that, you can then obviously publish the finished dashboard, and you can do that using the repository fluid homepage, okay? Right, so what does it look like? Well, what's the kind of look and feel, okay? Well, you'll notice it looks very similar to your your existing homepage, but there are a couple of changes. Because again, we're trying to simplify it. You'll notice, and I do have to smile when I built this slide deck, that I kind of put a ring around nothing. I appreciate what that is, but what I'm trying to show you there is normally at the bottom there you have the navigation arrows kind of back and forth, and obviously that's no longer there because now we've got the navigation homepage via the breadcrumbs at the top. And also now you click on the tiles to navigate to your next place. So it's kind of giving you more of a guided flow through the application. Okay, and as like I say, you've been here before where you've got the classic dashboard. Well, now we've got an extra tab in here, which now gives us the fluid dashboards. Okay, so we can come in here and we can maintain and manage these. Okay, again, you can take a look at these. You can change the tiles, you can change the properties. So it's allowing you to have a more configurable look and feel. Okay. So the tile repository, obviously we need to take a store of where we're going to store all the tiles that you can select, okay, whether it be for your homepage or for your dashboards. Okay. Obviously they reside under the structure and content as we had before. We have folders and subfolders, obviously to put them into groupings so we can logically find them. Okay. And also you can come in here and create new tiles and assign it to a content URL. Okay. And just as an aside while we're here, I'm mentioning all these kind of things that you can do and that you can perform. At the end of my PowerPoint, I will show you a couple of slides that show you the courses where you can learn more in depth about this. Because like I say, I'm just kind of glossing through this and giving you a high level understanding. If you want to learn about this, I'll show you the courses that we've got that you guys can take and work with them. Okay. So once again, inside the the repository, I've gone in and looked at structured content down again to a particular page. And once I've got the particular page, I can then change the information that is being displayed, what information happens, where it goes in navigation, etc. So I can control the kind of fluid application, if you will. Okay, so what effectively is this tile doing? Okay, well, we've made it again so that it is kind of configurable, and it can be static or it can be dynamic. If it's static, it just shows you an icon, an image. Like for instance, if you want to show personal details, it's just going to show you kind of maybe the icon of a face or whatever. Okay. Alternatively, we can make it dynamic, so it will change the information that is being displayed based on intervals of time. So it could be showing like number of open items, number of open jobs, active jobs, etc. And obviously that will change throughout the day as those jobs get taken off the list or added to the list. Okay. We can also make it interactive, so we can get you to pick or select things, or maybe enter a value, or press a button to do something to kind of cause it to do the next step. So we're trying to make it as configurable as possible. Again, these tiles are stored in the repository. You do have the ability to create these using structure and content. Okay. We've also got the application designer, which again you guys should be familiar with. We've also got a new wizard, which has helped you. It walks you through in a step-by-step guide to building a kind of a tile. Again, I'll do you a quick demo showing you through that as well a bit later on. Okay, next up we have navigation collections. Okay, so what you're kind of used to is the kind of the standard navigation using the PeopleSoft components. Well, we kind of want to make it a bit more again intuitive and kind of more guided, if you will. So we can kind of have a group of shortcuts based on functionality of what I need to do that will navigate me to the next place. So you put all these similar navigations together in collections. Okay. Why would you want to do that? Well, if you're like it says here, a casual user or a user that maybe not used to it, you can come in, you can see the navigation that you're saying, this is where I suggest you go next for the next piece of information. If you're a day-to-day user, chances are you know what you're doing. But the aim of this is to give you simple navigation, and also if you do know what you're doing, it'll help you to get to the next step quicker. So we're trying to not only simplify, but also make your job working more effective and efficient. Okay, next up we've got activity guides. Okay, what is this? Well, it's a formal kind of definition of a process that you need to do to complete a particular job. So when you are going through a particular piece of work, it may take 6 or 7 steps that you need to go through in order to complete that. And that's effectively what an activity guide is. Okay, it's giving you a list of actions or steps that need to be completed to complete the overall process. Okay, obviously we can use various examples, like for instance, onboarding a new employee. So for instance, the new employee, you need to get them, for instance, their HR pack of all the information that they need. They need to go and do their tax filing for their tax codes. They may need to have to register for certain HR courses that they have to take. All those form the process of onboarding a new employee, and you can make that as part of an activity guide. Okay, there are other examples listed here as well. So what we can do is we can define a template, and you can build a kind of generic definition, and obviously you can reuse these templates, of course. Okay, and then you have an actual instance of that, and it will use context-specific information. So I will enter my particular steps and information as I go through, and it will move me to the next step as we go. This is not kind of overly brand new. We did have these sort of things, activity guides, in the Classic form, so they are still available in Classic, and obviously you can utilize them with Fluid as well. Okay, so as you can see, this is just going to give you a bit of a kind of back history and moving forward history, if you will. So if you want to access activity guides, they are available for Classic in 852 to 854. Okay. You would actually go through and create the pagelet, okay, and you'll go through that and create it in the Work Center. From 855 onwards, as we said, everything now is moving towards Fluid, okay, so it will be operated through a tile, okay. You'll open your Activity Guide instance. You can go through the My Activity Guide instance. You can come through the menu, or you can just put a button or a link to this particular guide. So again, like as you can see, we're trying to make it more structured but easier to get to. So you can utilize the activity guides. What does it look like on a screenshot? I'm terribly sorry, this screen's a little bit blurred. I'm not quite sure why it's rendered that badly. But basically, what this is trying to show you is at the top, you can see that we are kind of doing a payment request. And it's got various steps that need to be completed in order to go through it. And you basically answer the information below in the kind of bottom two-thirds of the screen. You fill out the field, you click next, and move through the process, and it will guide you through this activity, going step 2, step 3, until you're complete, and then you can finalize the process. So that is the aim, to kind of guide you through. Next up, we'll mention analytics, or simplified analytics. Okay, it is the ability to put the onus on the end user. Okay, so you, the end user, have the ability to access these reports. They will work again in context to where you are within the application and where you are, and you're kind of flowing through the application. Why have we done this? Well, often you needed to kind of navigate to a completely separate part of the application, go to the reporting system and retrieve the report, find the information that you wanted and have a look at it and then get back. Well, that's not really intuitive for what you're doing. So we want to try and make it part of the flow of what you're doing. So we do have this ability now to kind of put embedded analytics in there. As it says, available for Fluid components only. So obviously we don't have this in Classic because this is built using the new system. Okay, we can use pivot grids. Okay, obviously you can report all user information on those. Okay, it does allow the end user to generate ad hoc reports, so they can, within reason, obviously, they can make some changes, make some filtered options, put in values, etc., and change their own feel. So again, the final bullet point is what we're trying to do is we're trying to put the power, if you will, into the hands of the end user. So rather than them having to go to various steps to ask for reports and produce reports, they've got certain control themselves to do certain amounts. So obviously, you can control that. You can control what they can do and what they can't do. Okay. So what does it look like? Well, okay, here you've got your typical information. We're looking out for a kind of supplier. Okay. And you're basically looking at the information in the center of the screen. And on the right-hand side, you're starting to kind of build up, content that you can change. And that's kind of the analytical approach. You can start looking at kind of what if and changing values around. Okay. Another example here is that you can pull together various pieces of information, okay, and look at various individuals. And then you can look here, and each one of those actions it can go to will lead you to, like for performance management, will going to show you more graphical information. And as you can see to the right-hand side of the screen, that is live when you click on these areas. So it is going to giving you that live with the job that you're doing. So currently, I'm looking at obviously my team of individuals, and I can see the status on the right-hand side. Whereas you wouldn't have that outside of Fluid, and I would have to go to a different part of the application to glean that information. So we're trying to roll it all in for you, make it a bit more streamlined. Okay. So as I said, it has made you have the streamlined elements, make it nice and easy. Okay. With the data sources you can pull from, PS query, composite queries, or any particular component that you're attached to. Okay. As I mentioned before, you can use pivot grids, okay, to attach to one of those data sources. Okay. You can use any PeopleSoft component that we have, okay, with obviously the respective template. Okay. We do give you kind of the content service. This is a pre-built service that it's pulling on. This is the analytics service. So when you request those reports or make changes to reports, that's the actual content service that you are calling, okay, by default. Okay. So like I say, that will allow you to run your ad hoc reports and pivots. Okay. And the final kind of bit I want to mention is, as I've said, we still have the ability for classic pages and fluid pages to coexist. We're not trying to get rid of them in any way, shape, or form. However, what we've done is created like a halfway house, if you will, or as we call it here, Classic Plus. So there is a system setting that says fluid-like themes for Classic. Okay, so this is a branding system setting that you can set, and it will change the appearance of a Classic page to look almost like Fluid, but it's kind of, like I say, halfway house. Okay, the reason we've done this is because there are still certain areas within the Classic that have not been built to fully support Fluid yet, but we wanted to give you, you're used to using the Fluid interface and all the Fluid whistles and bangs that go with it. We would like you to try and see the Classic pages moving towards that. So that's what we're doing for. Okay. So you will see some pages that are still there in the Classic view, but like I say, you do have this flag that you can turn on, and it will change the look and feel slightly. Okay. So just as a screenshot example, this is probably what you're used to with the Classic. Okay. So this is as is. You've got the kind of the standard fields at the top. You've got the kind of the list at the bottom, and it's all kind of gridded, nice and square and straight and laid out. Okay. And if you go down to now look at the Classic Plus turned on, you'll notice subtle changes. The field can be moved to different places. They don't always have to be in this grid format. The fields are more rounded. The buttons are kind of more streamlined down. The process list we've got listed again is a bit more kind of what you're used to seeing in other applications. So it's by no means fully Fluid, but it's kind of, like I say, a halfway house to kind of get you there. Okay. Okay. Next up, we're going to look at some administration tools that you get, look at some of the development that we can do, and obviously some considerations you need to think about when and if you're going to move to Fluid. Okay. So first things first, I did mention that we have a tile wizard. I'll mention that. Okay. We'll look at obviously some aspects of Fluid development, and then I'll just mention some of the considerations you need to think about with the whole Fluid idea. Okay. So first up, we have this tile wizard. It allows you to create your tile without having to go through kind of the structure and content portion. So you're kind of walking through the wizard and letting it build it rather than you have to do it from scratch. Again, similar to the pagelet wizard that we have in Classic mode. Okay. It does walk you through a 5-step process. Okay, so effectively it's using its own activity guides, walking you through 5 steps that you need to complete in order to build your particular tile. obviously, it has to pull its information from a data source. You can pull it from application classes, free text, navigation collections. We can tie it into OBI, EE, reports and dashboards. We can use pivot grids, okay? And images, as it says, only available on tile from 856 onwards. So even prior to that, we're not using images. Again, like I say, this is using your kind of step-by-step guide. So you would walk in, okay, and you give it your kind of basic tile information like name, description, etc. Then you'll specify the data source where it wants to pull its information from and what data type that is, okay. Then you want to specify the target page and the location within the repository. Then you can change some of the display properties, review it, have a look, make sure it's doing what it should do, and then obviously you can go ahead and publish it. Okay. And again, let me just step back. I'm making that look very, very simplified and very easy. It really is, but obviously I've made it simpler than what it really is. There is some work to this, obviously. And again, like I say, I will highlight the training courses that this is available in, so you can walk through and have a look at that as well. Things we need to be kind of aware of, okay. First thing that is kind of hugely apparent in the classic design of a page, you know, you go in, you build your page, and whatever you build it, however you look like it, whatever it looks like, the order, that is exactly what you're going to see in classic. Whereas fluid is not what you see is what you get. The reason behind that is because it's fluid and it moves. So depending on what option you look at, which browser you're looking at, whether it be a phone, tablet, or a laptop, it will potentially move, resize, and restructure these things. Okay, so there are, you know, cautions that you need to look at. Okay. Other things: fixed table, fixed display. Well, this kind of creates a structure. Pixel perfect, meticulous layout. Again, we're trying to utilize the technology that we have at our disposal. So we all start using style sheets. So it's using a style which will dictate and change, obviously, based on the content of the style sheets. Okay. Steps that you'd normally go through for application development. Obviously, you're going to design your application as what you want it to look like. Specify and create the fields, associate them with the records, obviously build a table around those, create the pages, create your components, register your components, and then test your application. So that is the kind of 8-step process. Again, not really hugely changed from what it was for Fluid, just some of the tools that you'll be using at each of those steps is a little bit different and a little bit kind of extra, I would suggest. Okay, now, just because I'm advocating that Fluid is great, it's fantastic, it is the way forward, let's just, you know, take some certain things into consideration, okay? At the time of going to press, at the time of me releasing this presentation to you guys right now, not all applications, you know, are candidates for Fluid. I mean, it might not be that you need to, in your areas, need to go to the Fluid interface, okay? Why is that? Well, it might be that in your workplace, you may not be utilizing cell phones, tablets, etc. So there is a chance that you may not need to move to Fluid just yet because you may not be utilizing the other aspects. So that's something else down to you. Usage and workload. Okay, we talked about the idea of casual users. If you don't have casual users, you just have day-to-day and they know what their job is and they know how to perform it, again, maybe you don't need to go to Fluid just yet either, okay? So it's not, I mean, like I say, I'm advocating it because I think it's a great tool, it's a great step forward, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean we need to knee-jerk and assume that you all need to go to it and kind of, you know, all jump to it straight away. So just some considerations that you need to take a look at that, okay? Tools that are available to you, obviously, Application Designer, okay, that's obviously been kind of revamped to utilize the Fluid development process. People Code, as we had before, again, we can now utilize that with Fluid as well. As I mentioned before, the look and feel is utilizing style sheets, so you've got cascaded style sheets coming in there. I said also that we're trying to embrace all the latest technologies, so it will utilize HTML5 and the latest versions of JavaScript as well. Okay, so that basically covers the development and the admin aspect. Let's just take a look at some of the the PeopleTools 856 enhancements. So if you're now inside 856, what do you expect to see that's changed? Okay. Well, first thing we mentioned, we've got the ability to change the little flag or the property, the branding, and say, yes, I want to use fluid-like themes. So it changes the themes a little bit and allows you to see the screens in kind of the halfway house, or as I call it, Classic Plus. Okay, that's the first thing you'll see. Okay. You'll notice also that we've now got the ability to even personalize from the smaller form factors. Before prior to 856 and 855, we had the ability to personalize, but you could only do that from one of the bigger form factors. Well, we've now allowed that to happen even down on the small form factor, so you can do it on a mobile phone. Okay. The vertical ellipses. So now if anything cannot fit on the menu bar, we put it in the actions list. So it automatically gets added to that. Okay. So we've got that. The form factor trace off is by default. Okay. So again, we will change that accordingly. Contextual fluid dashboard based on where you are within the application, whatever content is showing up for you. Okay. Okay. So that kind of basically wraps up what I wanted to talk to you about. So there's a recap. Let's just mention what we've gone through. We first started talking about what it is to have a fluid user interface. We then looked at the components and kind of buzzwords of what the new functionality contains. I showed you some screenshots of what it's going to look like. We looked at the features and how they work and utilize. We looked at it from the point of view of what you need in terms of being a developer or in terms of an administrator. And then I just wrapped it up by showing you some of the features that you will see right now today in 856. So where next? What do I need to know more about this? Where can I go to find this? Well, within our own kind of PeopleTools area, we have the development area. We do have a white paper on all about the kind of direction of fluid, what it is, what it's going to look like. And please be aware that this page is again, I'm not wanting to use a pun, but I will. It is a fluid page in the fact that the content is constantly being updated as we gain new features and we change things and new ideas come out and we find a better way of rendering or building the page. A white paper will go up there and will show you the kind of hints and tricks that we're using to kind of utilize that information. So it will change accordingly. So you can go there, take a look at the white papers that are out there as well. Okay. There also is the ability to get some Oracle University training. Okay, and that's obviously the department that I now work in. So what we have done as far as the curriculum is concerned, the two existing courses that really kind of cover this obviously are PeopleTools, 2 5-day courses, Tools 1, Tools 2. Now, these really still cover, as you can see from the first line, Introduction to PeopleTools Development in Classic, and the second course is the Advanced PeopleTools Development in Classic. We do, however, show you what Fluid UI is about, how it works, and how you create them. So we don't, it's not just purely Fluid. It does cover both Classic and Fluid in both cases. Okay. There is an accelerated version of that course, which basically does the same content as the two courses, but does it in a more rapid time frame, should you want to do that. Alternatively, if all you want to know about is just Fluid, we do have the PeopleSoft Fluid User Interface 855, okay, which has got obviously content from 855 moving forward. And this is, as its name suggests, purely geared towards Fluid interfaces and bringing Fluid in. There is also a seminar out there, and just to get the terminology for you guys, when I talk about a course, that means it is a full course. It has hands-on labs. There will be an instructor communication. You get e-kits, the lot. The last listing here says it's PeopleSoft New Features is a seminar. The only difference with the seminar is there is no hands-on labs. The idea behind this course, as it is only one day, is literally just to show you the high-level new features, the capabilities. It's effectively the presentation I've given you now, but it goes into a lot more detail, obviously. Okay. Now, that all aside, those courses, those 4 courses, 2 from the first page and 2 from this page, are available in the PeopleTools learning subscription, which is our pure digital learning offering, which you obviously can purchase for a year, and you get access to all this content. And again, it's purely digital. All the videos are there, the hands-on labs are there. You get your own environment. You can have a play with this, and you can manage and work it out at any time that you want. So they are the kind of training offerings to back this up, to kind of continue your education. So, preemptive on your questions, where do I go next if I want to learn more? Well, the next step you would go to is, if you are just a kind of a user, or you're more of a kind of on the business side of it, and you want to know the differences in a bit more detail, obviously you would take the 1 day that I've pointed out here at the bottom of the list. If you're more of a developer and you want to move your application to Fluid, then I suggest the 3 day. If you are new to the area and doing development and you're still doing both in Classic and Fluid, then obviously I suggest you go to the PeopleTools 1 and 2 courses. Okay. If you've got any questions or concerns regarding any training offerings, we do have the education.oracle.com website, or alternatively, you can contact me, Stephen Wright. When I submit my PowerPoint, I will put my contact details in it, so you can obviously reach out to me as well. That being said, my email address is stephen.wright@oracle.com, should you want to contact me before that. So that really kind of covers everything that I wanted to go through. I will at this point say thank you for attending. I think we've got to that point now where we can open up for questions if there are any. So I will hand you back to my invigilator.
Yes,
Read
thank
out
you,
any
Stephen.
questions that we have.
Absolutely. Yep. I don't see any questions that have come in yet, but I don't want to end this until everybody has an opportunity to send those in. So maybe Stephen, Stephen, if you can give us some closing thoughts, and we'll wait for some questions to come in, and then if nothing does come in, we'll wrap it up.
Okay. To be honest, I really wouldn't expect many questions anyway, because this is really more of a kind of fact-finding lecture, and it's kind of, it fills in all the blanks for you, and now it tells you now where you need to go to get the more information. So I kind of have expected that. Final thoughts I will leave you with is Fluid is the kind of the way forward. That is the direction that they're going in. More and more of the screens that are not Fluid now will be, and as we move to the next version, it will all be concentrating around Fluid to make it more of a combined, finished application that will fit on any device. So please go back to the kind of the white pages, take a look at those. Contact me if you need any training or anything regarding that. And I wish you guys well, and good luck with your PeopleSoft and everything Fluid. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, I will close this out then, and just wanted to say thanks again for joining us, and thank you to Stephen for speaking with us. But be sure to check out the Quest site for more sessions during the Quest Forum Week, and look for a follow-up email with the next steps to engage with Quest. We look forward to seeing you on the next Quest webinar. Thank you so very much. You guys have a great evening.